Hello everybody, it's me, Alex, and it's Thursday, right? Yeah, I'm still like all fucked up because I accidentally had Tuesday off. And I just didn't get around to like recording a vlog today, and I think I'm gonna keep this pretty short and sweet because I have a headache. And I know exactly why I have a headache, because I had some like crosspan subgrade. Like crosspan is like, you know, in a street where you get like the little kind of gutter dip thing that's usually made out of concrete. That's a crosspan. But I had a job today where they were like ripping out the old crosspan so that they can pour new ones, and I just had to test like the old material under it to just make sure it was still good, which it was, because I mean it's sand, it doesn't go bad. But when I was testing the second one, I wanted to like finish out my day, so I went there, you know, I went to get the test when they'd only pulled out about half of the old crosspan, and instead of like stopping the demolition, and I will note that this, like, the foreman had also waved me over, so it wasn't like I just took this on myself. But like, instead of stopping demolition so the tester, me, could get a damn test, the guy with the jackhammer just kept going like 3 feet away from me, and that's why I have a headache. And he didn't stop until he managed to like shoot me in the neck and the side of the face with a bunch of speeding shards of sharp concrete, at which point I was just like, what the fuck is wrong with you? And then he finally stopped. So that was a really awesome way to end my day, and then, you know, have a long and terrible like 45-minute drive home, because trying to get out of downtown Denver, or I mean it wasn't like downtown, but it was like in the Denver city area, like at rush hour time, is just a fucking nightmare. So yeah, that's my day. Apparently I just wanted to whine about my job. I hope you had a good Thursday. I mean, mine was actually not terrible, other than we're in the season of it's cold in the morning, which I don't really care about that much, other than it means when they call you to test stuff that they just let sit out overnight, it pretty much always fails, because if the ground is frozen, it fails. And you get to a site and you're like, oh look, there's ice all over everything. Have a nice day. Thanks for paying me to show up. So, I mean, like, that doesn't bother me at all, even if it means occasionally I have to deal with like bitchy foremen who are like, but are you sure you can't test it? And I'm like, yeah. Maybe you should, you know, not try to cut corners. But, you know, it was a pretty good day. It was pretty relaxed, because this is the time of year where we don't have that much work, so, you know, things are kind of spaced out. I am sad to say that Crane, whatever that was, canceled, and I still don't know what that entailed, but it has rescheduled for tomorrow, and it is still on my schedule, so I may still find out what Crane is. And when I do, I will definitely let you know. Like, all I'm really kind of thinking about today is that I'm starting to work on research for this thing I'm doing that involves the Lewis and Clark expedition, and I'm reading a book about it that's I don't remember the title. I'll put it in the notes, but it basically focuses on Meriwether Lewis and Thomas Jefferson, and I haven't actually even gotten to the part about the expedition itself yet. I'm just kind of going through the backstory, so to speak, about, you know, Jefferson and Meriwether Lewis. And one thing I'm already kind of thinking about, that, I mean, I'll have to see how things go when I'm writing the thingy, is that Meriwether Lewis was a Virginian plantation owner, which obviously means that he owned slaves. And there's not much in the book about, you know, like, treatment, etc., but he fucking owned slaves, so there's not really any bones to be made about that. And it's left me in this kind of weird place where I'm like, I'm gonna be writing more about the expedition, and I don't really want to get biographical because I don't have time or space to get biographical. But so it's not like I'm really going to be talking that much about Lewis or Clark as people, I don't think. But at the same time, that feels like a really big fucking thing to leave off. And so I kind of just have to think about how to address that, because it is important to note, like, I think especially, you know, if you're going to write about like a historical expedition or something like Lewis and Clark, it's really easy for it to get very hagiographic. And I don't feel like that would really be fair to history, or, you know, the people who got fucked by history and are still getting, you know, fucked by the society that has been created by history. And like ignoring the gross parts of history has in many ways gotten us to where we are today. But, you know, like, so that's my one feeling. But on my other hand, I'm just like, when the fuck would I even bring this up? Because I'm not really gonna, I'm just gonna be like, there was this dude named Meriwether Lewis, and he went on an expedition, and, you know, because at least when you're talking about the Lewis and Clark expedition, there is actually some kind of interesting stuff you can get into about the interactions with Native Americans. But, you know, like I said, I'm not really, you know, it's not going to be biographical. So I guess I'm just going to have to see how it goes. But I'm already just thinking about that, because it's like, you know, what do you have room for versus what is important and true. And I mean, I'm already kind of like side-eyeing this book just a little, because when it mentioned, you know, it mentioned that Meriwether Lewis owned slaves, and it also mentions Thomas Jefferson, and kind of goes a little bit out of its way to be like, but he, you know, it does like this really interesting job of pointing out his absolute hypocrisy when it came to slavery, especially him being like, wow, slavery is a really terrible thing. But, you know, I'm going to leave it to the next generation of Virginians to get rid of slavery, because I don't want to, which, you know, is just like some serious mental gymnastics right there. But then it also kind of goes like, oh, well, there's no proof that Thomas Jefferson ever like slept with any of his slaves. And I was like, really? Maybe I should check what date this book was written, because as far as I know, it's pretty well proven. But anyway, so that's just, that was kind of like, I spent my lunchtime reading the book, and I was gonna reward myself for starting on my research, because I'm just like, you know, where you get, I do the thing where like I really procrastinate a lot when I'm intimidated by a project. And, you know, so it's like when I was writing Blood Binds the Pack, I was super intimidated by it because it was a second book, and I've never written a second book, so I just like fucking put it off forever until my agent was kind of like, you should really get writing on this, and he was right. But I had the deadline, and this, I do have a deadline, but I'm in the procrastination phase where I'm like, I feel really intimidated by this project, so I'm kind of like cat waxing, because I just like the idea of trying to write something that is actually like historical in any way scares the bejesus out of me, because like if you think science fiction fans, you know, are fucking anal retentive, scientists have nothing on historians. Excuse me. So that's why I'm currently like procrastinating. So I was like, oh well, I'm gonna make this deal with myself that if I read X number of chapters of this book, then I can read some of The Changeling by Victor LaValle, because that's what I'm currently reading, and I'm trying to get it done by Sunday, because there's like this little book club thing I'm in, and that's our book for the month. And I mean, holy shit, that book is really good, but it's super intense, and it's just like, ugh, you know, there's, I mean, honestly, I'm only about halfway through it, but I mean, honestly, I'm finding it like way more intense than the Ballad of Black Tom. Though that also, I don't know if maybe part of that is the format that I'm reading it in, because I'm reading The Changeling as like, you know, like an ebook, and the Ballad of Black Tom I got as an audiobook, buying with the Tor.com novella seasons. So it was like really good, but it didn't have me like biting my nails the way the Changeling is. And I mean, to the extent that like I was reading it when I was working out, and I ended up doing like an extra 10 minutes on the stationary bike, just because I was like, holy fuck, I can't stop, I have to keep going, what the hell is happening? And then the thing finished happening, and it was terrible. So I will really recommend it. It's like there's some really emotionally tough stuff going on in it, and I'm really interested to see where he's gonna go, and kind of where he's headed with it, because it also really touches on some extremely difficult real life issues, like most importantly postpartum depression. So it's just, I mean, I trust him to handle it, because he's a damn good writer. But yeah, that's like, I'm just reading the hell out of that thing right now, and that was supposed to be my reward, and then I ended up reading a bunch of chapters of this history book instead, because I was just like, I'm just trying to get through like all the front-loaded stuff, because I could skip it, but I feel like I should at least get that background grounding, so then I can figure out if maybe there is stuff that I should include. So I'm not just gonna like skip straight to the actual start of the expedition, but I'm trying to get there. So I ended up just doing that all lunch hour, and I didn't get to read the Changeling until like later when I was on a job site and we were like waiting for equipment to get repaired. And so I was just like walking around, like walking up and down the street out of the site itself and reading a book, because, you know, that's good exercise, and if you can manage to stay on the sidewalk and not trip on anything, you're doing good. Wow, this is actually, like, I thought I wasn't gonna say much, and apparently I had this much stuff worth to say despite the fact that my head hurts, so go me. I hope you had a great Thursday, and I hope you are reading something really cool like The Changeling. And I will talk to you tomorrow. Bye. Don't stand too close to the guy doing demolition with a jackhammer.